Welcome to Monday, the 13th day of January 2025. As we embark on a new week, there's going to be a lot to talk about again, like last week. It's going to be a chilly start to the week across the region. Northwest winds aloft will be producing cold winds at the jet stream level coming in from the northwest, much like what we've had over the last, almost 2 weeks now. This will keep temperatures chilly in the Rockies and the high plains, and we're going to continue to have is going to be some lingering snow showers for northern Wyoming, southern Montana, the western areas of South Dakota. Not as much as we saw over the weekend, but a lot of lingering weather up there. Winds aloft will be strong, so we might see some more lenticulars like you see in that beautiful shot of the Colorado Front Range from Cheyenne late last week. What we're going to see is this little break we talked about last week. The middle of the week, we're going to have a little bit of a warm-up. Looks to be dry. However, we should use those couple of days, especially if you're in the livestock industry, to be ready. Use those days to prepare for what is going to be the coldest air of the season, arriving in some of the far northern Rockies as early as Friday, but really rushing in over the weekend. The period of Saturday through Tuesday will be the coldest 4-day stretch of the winter season, bar none. And it will be a pretty severe cold. We'll talk about here in a moment how long it's going to last. There'll be snow with it as well and some very cold wind chills. So this is a heads up to livestock interest all throughout the Rockies, both sides of the divide, and especially into the northern plains. This is the real McCoy coming as we get into the weekend. In the meantime, some beautiful shots of winter landscapes all across the western United States. Dark, heavy-looking clouds, fresh snow on the mountains, and also a very bright moon, a cold, bright moon, illuminating a lot of things at night, as you can see there from Estes Park, and good old-fashioned sundog. The cold temperatures up in the Vidavoo area east of Laramie over the weekend. Just a beautiful shot there from Lake McConaughey of a great landscape there of those altocumulus clouds and the sun reflecting on them there. And then, hey, there's some palm trees. Balloon rally in Lake Havasu over this past weekend. They were able to get in the air, at least for one day here. I know it got windy a little bit later on. And then some virga there from snow shower activity over the panhandle of Nebraska this morning. And then in the Hoback area, a lot of a very good snowscape shot there. And you can just see the clouds in layers as that Pacific moisture comes in. The satellite imagery this morning, not too much going on, but we still have northwest winds aloft coming into these areas here. And if you look real closely, there's some cloudiness streaking in from the northwest to the southeast here. So Montana, north central and northeastern Wyoming will continue to see snow showers. We'll take a look at snowpack tomorrow, but boy, a ton of snow, a lot of snow has fallen in the northern Bighorn Mountains since late last week, and the Black Hills, the higher Black Hills as well. So snowpack numbers there are definitely going to move. The next energy, the next vortex of cold and unsettled weather coming out of the Pacific is up here. This is going to be the instigator. Doesn't look like much, but this is going to set into motion the Arctic wave. When you look at current advisories across the United States, there's not too much going on. Some lake effect snows in the Great Lakes. We continue to have winter weather advisories for the Black Hills and the Bighorns and parts of central Montana. We have, unfortunately, high winds coming back in with another Santa Ana event. Not as bad as the last one, but not helpful. You can see very cold temperatures still there in southern Arizona. Now, I'm going to show you this because this puts things in perspective and lays the groundwork for the Arctic wave coming by next weekend. Look at the snow cover across the United States as of late yesterday. Look at that. Look how far south snow on the ground is into northern Georgia here. We're going to actually see the snow extent get further south later this week as well. Notice all of Canada is covered in snow. A year ago at this time, we had some gaps in the snow up here, but when you have this much snow cover, the Arctic waves just have nothing to slow them down. It's like greasing the wheels, so to speak. So when you put snow on the ground this time of year, when very cold air masses move out of the higher latitudes to the lower latitudes, there's nothing to stop them. So we're going to fill in this blue, and by next weekend, we could have blue go all the way into these areas like here even further south. So this is where we're going to start the week. We're still under this northwest wind flow aloft, so we're going to still have that wintry weather up here. Here's this low getting cut off and going off the coast, which triggers the Santa Ana winds again. But it's going to be coldest in the Great Lakes into the northeast United States. Plenty of cold coming in from the upper Midwest. Here's this little wedge of high pressure ridge that's going to fold over and give us a little bit of a warm-up. This is by Wednesday. The gradient right here, you see these easterly winds? Not what they need in Southern California, but it's repeating itself. Remember, weather patterns will tend to repeat during the course of a season. Here's this wave right here, queued up to come down south and east by later in the week. But for Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, there's a gap. Take advantage of it. We're going to get a little more snow between now and Wednesday, but it's under that northwest flow aloft in the same areas that had it over the weekend. Basically, into these areas here, you're going to get some snow showers in the mountains of southern Wyoming, Colorado, Utah, and even down into New Mexico here, but nothing to write home about. Then things get a lot more interesting. By around the noon hour Friday, high pressure begins to amplify along the west coast up into Alaska, causing the jet stream to start to carve a trough very deep. Notice the wind barbs. You see these black lines? I call these wind barbs. This represents winds at 18,000 feet. Each line is 10 miles an hour, and the barb shows which way the wind direction's coming. Notice the shape of this trough in Canada. Winds aloft are going counterclockwise around the low and then coming due south. So basically the trajectory of the air up here around the Arctic Circle is from the north to the south, cross latitude. Huge transports of air from one high latitude to a lower latitude just causes a lot of weather. And then that's going to drive very cold air up there south and pull it across parts of central and western areas of Canada. So on Friday morning, we're going to see cold air, Arctic air intrude into northern Montana, British Columbia, Alberta, Saskatchewan, Manitoba, pushing into North Dakota. And this low is going to drag all that Arctic air south. And then by Sunday morning, we have a fully amplified flow of the jet stream going all the way up into the Northwest Territories, diving south, winds aloft from the west coast, all the way into a lot of the nation. The transport of cold air is unfettered. There's nothing to stop it. And that snow cover I showed you is greasing the wheels. So let's follow the winds aloft. They're from here, and they go all the way down into the Texas Panhandle before they start to turn. But what you're going to see, basically, this is just opening the door, swinging the door from the Great White North and letting it to flow south over a lot of the nation. This is going to be impactful. This is going to send very, very cold air into the region. Now, there's very little Pacific connection, which means there is going to be snow. Probably not a lot, but there's going to be some snow with this Arctic wave. Confidence is high that this is going to unfold. And so by Friday, 5 p.m., the line of the Arctic air push is coming into central and southern Wyoming, spilling down into the Front Range of Colorado. You can see there's the warmer air that's getting pushed out ahead of it that is over the west here during the middle of the week. This doesn't look by much, but look what happens as we go over time. So by 5 p.m. Friday, looks like this by noon Saturday. Purple shows a temperature anomaly of 30 degrees or more off the 30-year average. And that Saturday is by 11 a.m. The Arctic front is going through Amarillo. Got a blue norther going on. Then by Sunday at noon, the Arctic air comes down the divide, gets over on into western sides of the divide. You see the green here? The cold air is spilling into Arizona, all into Utah, the southern Great Basin. Then you look at temperatures by Sunday morning. These are temperatures by Sunday morning, sub-zero anywhere you see gray. So even getting sub-zero back into Idaho, parts of Utah here, into the mountain valleys of Colorado, you're looking at widespread sub-zero temperatures by Sunday morning. Look at the temperature anomalies by noon Monday across the nation. A lot of purple, green going down to Miami, green going away all the way off the west coast. And then look at temperatures by next Monday morning. Now, these will probably change and fluctuate. So again, remember, trend is your friend here. We're talking trend. But these are just the air temperatures that will be found. And you can see the core of the very severe cold is going to be in the Dakotas, across Montana, many parts of Wyoming, but also getting down to the I-70 corridor of Colorado. Now, keep in mind, if there's new snow, that's added to the mix here. And then other things, some of these temperatures in some areas could be warmer, they could be colder. But we'll keep an eye on this. But this is the severity of the cold that's coming. These are the wind chill values by next Monday morning. So you're talking dangerously cold wind chill values of 30 to 40 below zero or colder across parts of central Wyoming. Then look across the north central plains here. And the cold air does get along into some areas west of the divide. Look at these temperatures by Monday morning. The gray here shows where temperatures could go at or below freezing. So basically, we may see freezing temperatures along all of the Gulf Coast of Florida to the Panhandle, rather the Panhandle of Florida to the Gulf Coast of Texas. So you're looking at very, very cold temperatures. It's going to be a cold day in D.C. on the 20th, that's for sure. These are the temperature anomalies for the period of this upcoming Saturday to the following Saturday. So the whole nation is really going to feel the effects of this cold. And natural gas prices are responding. They're well over $4 this morning. A year ago, they were just a little bit more than $2. So we're seeing the markets respond to this cold. And this is not the only cold wave. We're also going to be looking at snow looking like this along the east slopes of the Rockies upslope. Again, this is not the type of pattern that produces a ton of snow, but it will produce enough. More lake effect snows as that Arctic air spills in. By next Thursday, there is a little bit of a push of the high a little bit closer to the coast. So this may push the very, very cold air off the east slopes of the Rockies a bit more towards the Great Lakes and the plains. But we've got more waves up here that could come down and re-amplify the flow. So in all likelihood, at the end of January into early February, we're probably looking at another Arctic wave. And some of the coldest Arctic waves you can get in the winter season a lot of times happen in February. And that'll be something we're going to keep an eye on. Have yourself a good Monday. We'll have more for you tomorrow.